origin of life on Earth, you realize that our existence is a big what if story. Mammals very rapidly became larger than they had ever been and eventually became the largest animals on the land and in the seas. So were it not for that asteroid, we'd still be living in a reptile dominated world, not a mammal world, where, of course, those early mammals eventually gave rise to primates and primates eventually to us.
Well, then you talk about another kind of collision, a little slower, that shaped us and created what you call an animal for all seasons. What happened there?
Yeah, so another thing to appreciate is that we live in a really unusual time for the planet. We've been in an ice age for more than a couple million years. And ice ages are rare. The last one was about 300 million years ago. So, 50 million years ago, if you visited the planet, it was largely ice free from pole to pole. But it's cooled over time. And one of the events that really accelerated that cooling was the movement of a small plate. It's the Indian subcontinent, which, as you may know, that the continents move around as part of tectonic plates. Well, that Indian subcontinent was down by Madagascar about 65 million years ago, and it moved rapidly north until it slammed into Asia. And that collision is what built the Himalaya. And the building of the Himalaya, by drawing carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, accelerated the cooling of the planet and eventually the freezing over, for example, of the Antarctica and of the northern hemisphere, which sets up the ice ages. Well, you might say, well, how does this all connect to us? Well, in Africa, and it's in East Africa, it's not so much about hot and cold as it is about warm and dry. And those cycles, very rapid cycles, geologically speaking, of warm and dry, are really challenging to the persistence of plants and animals over longer periods of time. And when we look in East Africa, we realize that hominids, our ancestors, have fared pretty well relative to other animals through this 2 million year period of the ice ages. And we think about why might that be? Well, it's during this time that our brains got threefold larger in volume, and it's during this time that we invented, or especially expanded our use of tools. It's when we took command of fire. So we're an animal that can fashion our own habitat. That we became sort of an animal for all seasons. So go all the way back to that Indian subcontinent colliding into Asia and say, well, that's probably the geological event that set in motion the evolution of a large-brained ape on the African continent.
That's astounding. That India's tectonic movement, the whole continent going